Hey everybody, Mr. Gajewski here, and in today's lesson we are going to talk about solving multi-step inequalities. So we're going to go through 5 different examples you might see here. And in our first one we have 160 plus 4f is less than or equal to 500. So let's go ahead and let's follow our inverse order of operations. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 160 from both sides. 4f is less than or equal to 340. Next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide by a positive 4. And that's going to give me f is less than or equal to 85. Go ahead and circle your answer. All right. 7 minus 2t is less than or equal to 21. So again, I need to isolate the term with the variable. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 7 from both sides. Negative t is less than or equal to 14. Now I'm going to divide by a negative 2. And remember, when I divide or multiply by a negative, when I'm working with inequalities, I need to flip my symbol of relation. So this less than or equal to is going to turn into a greater than or equal to negative 7. Number 3. So we have negative 4 plus a negative 8 less than or equal to negative 5c minus 2. So we're going to have to simplify before we solve these inequalities. So I'm going to look to combine like terms on both sides. So I have a negative 4 plus a negative 8. That's going to give me negative 12. Whoa, excuse me. Negative 12 on the left-hand side, less than or equal to. Well, negative 5c minus 2, those are not like terms. So I cannot combine those. I'm just going to look to isolate by adding 2 to both sides. Well, negative 12 plus 2, that's going to give me negative 10, less than or equal to negative 5c. Divide by a negative 5. 2 negatives gives me a positive 2. And I have to, because I'm dividing by a negative here, flip my symbol of relation. So 2 is greater than or equal to c. And with inequalities, it really helps to write the variable on the left-hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this again. So it's going to flip to c is less than or equal to 2. So all real numbers less than or equal to positive 2. That's my third example. Let's try a fourth. So I'm going to have to simplify both sides here. On the left-hand side, I'm going to have to go ahead and distribute. I see parentheses. That's a good sign to distribute. Let's distribute a negative 3. So I have negative 9 plus 3x less than 4 squared. Well, what is 4 squared? That is 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Now we can add 9 to both sides. That'll give me 25. And then I can divide by 3. And what do I get when I divide by 3? Well, I'm going to get x is less than. Well, I'm not going to get a whole number here or an integer. I'm going to get 8.3 repeating. But I don't really like working with those repeating decimals, so let's go ahead and let's change that. So 0.3 repeating, I've seen that enough times. That's 1/3. So x is less than 8 1/3. Let's do one more example together. Some good old fractions, everyone's favorite. So 4/5 x plus a half is greater than 3/5. So we need to isolate that 4/5 x. So let's go ahead and let's subtract a half from both sides. 3/5 minus 1/2. Well, can't do anything with that yet. So let's go ahead and off to the side here. Do 3/5 minus 1/2. Okay, no calculator needed here. Well, I need to find a common denominator. A common denominator would be 10. So in order to get to that 10, I need to multiply this equation on the fraction on the left by 2. So 3/5 is equivalent to 6/10. And to turn that 2 into a 10, we need to multiply the numerator and denominator on the right by 5. So 1 times 5 gives me 5/10. So now I can subtract. I have 6/10 minus 5/10. Well, if I have 6 of them and I take 5 away, how many tenths do I have left over? 1/10. So I can go ahead and put that back into my inequality here. So on the left-hand side, when I subtract a half, I'm left with 4/5 x. Greater than, well, 3/5 minus a half. What did we say that was equal to? 1/10. All right, now I need to divide by 4/5. And if you remember, dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So let's go ahead and let's multiply both sides by 5/4. Hey, let's do another little review of fractions here. So 1/10 times 5/4. Well, when we multiply fractions, we just multiply the numerators. 1 times 5 gives me 5. Multiply denominators. 10 times 4 gives me 40. But we're not done yet. We can go ahead and we can simplify. So what is a common factor, or what's a number I can divide 5 and 40 by? Well, the biggest one I can divide both of those by would be 5. So when I divide 5 by 5, I get 1. When I divide 40 by 5, I get 8. 1/8. So what is 1/10 multiplied by 5/4? That is 1/8. So let's go ahead and let's finish our inequality here. So on the left-hand side, that cancels out. And x is greater than 1/8. Go ahead and circle your answer. All right, that is it for multi-step inequalities. Just remember, when you're multiplying or dividing by a negative, to flip the sign. Otherwise, it is just like solving an equation. That's it for today. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll see you next time.